Time to say good afternoon to David Heurtel, who is, of course, in for James Meny, who, again, I'll just mention will be back June 1st. So, David, a couple of stories. Yes, we sort of, talked a little bit about the Steven Guilbeault situation yesterday when it was just a rumor. It's official. He's done. I have just one question to ask. I should have asked Rachel Aiello this, but, he announced today he's going to quit politics, basically not be with the Liberal Party, but he's not doing that until the summer. If your mind's already made up, why are you sticking around? What's the sort of go-to here?
I just think one thing I will say for Steven Guilbeault is he is very respectful of Parliament, the Liberal Party, the government, Mark Carney. He's respectful of the institutions. I just think he doesn't want this to become a spectacle between now and the end of session, and I just think he's doing this out of respect for everybody involved.
Okay.
He's going to stay on. He's going to end the session, and then he's going to resign. I think it's just finishing up in the most respectful way for everybody involved.
So I will tell you, I heard Vashi talking about this on her show today, and I know she has an interview with him coming up as well, and she read some of the text messages she'd received from listeners. There were a lot of them were like, you know what, don't let the door hit you on the way out, and it's about time. And is that fair?
I think so. I gotta say, I think it is fair because there's a lot of contradictions with Steven Guilbeault. And just let's remember, he joined the Liberals of Justin Trudeau a few months after Justin Trudeau announced that the federal government was buying the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Okay? He joined the Liberals. He ran for the Liberals in 2019, just a few months after that. As Environment Minister, Aaron, he approved, not Justin Trudeau, not somebody else, when Steven Guilbeault was Environment Minister, he signed the approval for the Baie du Nord offshore oil drilling project offshore of Newfoundland and Labrador, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, offshore oil drilling project in Canada's history. He approved it. So he ran for the Liberals in 2025 after Mark Carney scrapped his carbon tax, which was supposedly his signature achievement as Environment Minister.
Right.
And I heard your interview previous on the pipelines. I'm sorry, Mark Carney said it many, many, many times on the campaign trail in 2025 that he was pro-pipeline. So, and the thing is that Steven Guilbeault is very good at playing, this, ideological person, and he's a superstar in the environmental movement. He's been there for a long time. He knows how to cultivate that. But this back and forth, I may leave, I may stay, and then he resigns in November, goes and does the media and tries to become a martyr. That didn't work at all, not even in Quebec. Like I told you yesterday, Mark Carney's popularity in Quebec has gone up since Steven Guilbeault resigned from cabinet last November, even though he played the martyr tune throughout Quebec media when he resigned as minister in November. So if you're part of a caucus and you're part of cabinet and you're part of the prime minister's office, you're just rolling your eyes. Okay, fine. But this has been going on since November. And so I just think everybody, do your little thing, and it's going to be a story for 24 hours, and it'll be done because, again, poll after poll after poll in Quebec and the rest of the country, it's simply not the priority right now. Is it important? Is the environment important? Is climate change important? Yes. But it is not something that Quebecers and Canadians feel are the priorities for them right now. So, yeah, I think it's big in Steven Guilbeault's mind, but for everybody else, I think, time to move to other things.
Okay. Let me move on to talk about another story. Again, we're talking about the Prime Minister today. So famously coming out yesterday saying basically a bare majority. So in other words, 50 plus 1 would not be enough for Quebec to leave Canada. David, every time I see something like this, I think to myself, why do you allow yourself to be goaded into this question? But these are going to come, especially now given what's going on in Alberta. How do you think he handled that?
Well, was he goaded? Look, it was a series of questions of what was going on in Alberta. I cannot believe that Mark Carney wasn't briefed on this. You know what I mean? This is obviously something that he knew, and he knew that it was a minefield. I think what Mark Carney is doing right now is looking at the issue that's right in front of him. And right in front of him is Alberta. And the Alberta question, which is a question about if you want another question, raises a lot of issues. And the Clarity Act, and let's remember, he is the Prime Minister of Canada, and there's been a law on the books, and it's still on the books since 2000. It was enacted in 2000, the Clarity Act, which says that Parliament must look not only at the question if a province decides to look at secession, but not only at the question for referendum, but if the vote is valid or not, and has to ask the question. So this is a law, and as Prime Minister of Canada, he has to he's applying the laws that are on the books. Now, of course, we have the drama and everybody screaming bloody murder in Quebec City today, and fine. What was very interesting though is that while Simon Jolin Barrette screamed bloody murder and said, no, it's 50+1, because there's a law on the books provincially here in Quebec that says if there is a referendum on secession, it's 50+1. So there are two laws, there's a federal law and provincial law that are at odds at each other. But what's interesting, Aaron, is that when asked, Christine Fréchette dodged the question. She went straight to people don't want to hear about a referendum, which is the truth in Quebec, as we all know. 70% of Quebecers, francophones, anglophones, nobody wants a referendum. And independence is at 67% no. And so the idea right now is that I think what Mark Carney did he do it the best way? No. But I think what he knows, though, is by being firm here, he's sending a message to Albertans because that referendum is in 5 months. It's not like Quebecers are going to the polls anytime soon on the referendum. There will be an election just 2 weeks before the Alberta referendum. But I think it's a calculated move. He's showing how firm he is on applying the Clarity Act, and he's just saying, look, the Clarity Act is clear. It's part of the pun, but it's 50+1 is not necessarily it. But could he have massaged it a better way? I think he made a choice. It'll be tomorrow we're going to get the same old columnists, again screaming that, Ottawa's not respecting Quebecers, blah, blah, blah. But again, Quebecers aren't focusing on that right now, and it's not on the table right now. So the damage, I think, will be limited, and you have all these leaders, PQ and others, going to scream again at injustice instead of focusing on key issues, which are, of course, affordability, healthcare, and housing.
By the way, did you hear this story? And I'm not sure I heard it correctly, Dave. They canvassed CAC members on how they would vote? Yeah. Did you see this?
Well, yeah, they asked two ministers, and yesterday, so they asked the culture minister and they asked the labor minister. One said, so Coulombe, Mathieu Coulombe, who is the culture minister, said if there were a referendum, I would vote yes. Jean Boulet, who is the labor minister, said if there were a referendum, I would vote no. What happened is that I think Fréchette's office and the whip over that caucus got it in red alert mode, and the message was clear for everybody else. They tried to ask the question to pretty much everybody in the National Assembly halls today, and everybody had the same answer: is it's not the time for a referendum. So they stopped that right away.
So Lacombe didn't get that memo, I guess.
No, well, that's it. I think yesterday, I think the memo came after, because it was just like journalists asking, okay, well, what would you vote if? And Boulay, it was actually during the parliamentary hearing, during credits. Marc Tanguay actually asked him. And I think it was a very shrewd move by Tanguay because Coulombe had said that during a scrum to reporters. And so to show that there is division within the CAQ caucus, but Christine Fréchet put an end to that, and rightly so, because for her, the key is not to get to a debate on that.
Right.
It's to be the voice of, it's not time to talk about a referendum. We have other priorities.
Last thing I want to get to, Soraya Martinez-Ferrata. Look, the situation over, that pro-Palestinian rally and the fact that police basically did nothing. I know we got a comment or a statement back from the police, which just tells us now they're looking at it as, or considering it, studying it as a potential hate crime. This is what Soraya Martinez-Ferrata said today when questioned on it.
We have the police force. That's their job. I'm going to be talking with the SPVM to understand what the limit is in terms of intervention. What we saw this weekend is unacceptable. It's a clear act of anti-Semitism that we saw in Montreal. And I think we need to address the issue of having protests because it's a democratic right, but do it in a way that is respectful. And that's not what we saw this weekend. It was actually denounced by many other organizations, and I think we have to denounce it.
So we denounce it, but what? We turn the page and wait for this to happen again? I mean, what has to happen here, David?
Well, what I find very unsettling here, Aaron, is that remember a few weeks ago, after May Day. Remember the May Day demonstration?
The Jean Boulay?
Yeah, Jean Boulay.
Yeah.
Jean Boulay. So a group, during the May Day, a workers group that was decapitating Jean Boulay, obviously figuratively. And I remember then there was generalized outcry. It was publicized, it was out there, and there was no doubt and that there was to be a complaint and a criminal investigation. And I don't know why we can't just say exactly the same thing here. It is violent speech, it's incitement to hate, it's incitement to violence, and that is against the law, period. And so at the very least, I think, yes, it's anti-Semitic, but I think there's kind of a double, there seems to be a different type of reaction here. Why were everybody was unanimous out there after the Jean Boulay thing saying there should be a criminal investigation? And why isn't there that same kind of clear-cut response here? I don't get it.
I thought, David, it's interesting. It's almost as if that Jean Boulay situation gave license to these pro-Palestinian protesters to do the same thing and hope they could get away with it.
Well, maybe. But the fact is that we know that there is a police investigation ongoing with the Jean Boulay incident. There is a police investigation.
Yeah, I remember them talking about it. I didn't know what the bottom line was. I thought Jean Boulay himself had said that he would look into this.
There was a formal complaint. No, well, what he said is that he filed a formal complaint.
Right.
But you don't have to necessarily file a complaint. Police can investigate crimes without formal complaints. And so this is a real test for both Soraya Martinez and Fadi Daguerre to say clearly, so Mayor of Montreal should be saying very clearly, police should be investigating this, period. And yes, denounce, fine, fair enough. But go beyond that. This is hate speech, this is violent speech, it's unacceptable. Yes, it's anti-Semitic, but go beyond that. It is something that is on the books as being illegal in our society and should be investigated as such.
We leave it at that. David, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy. Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.